Gus was a Mexican Ghost by Jane Thayer, pictures by Seymour Fleischman. Gus the Ghost lived in the historical museum with Cora the cat, Mouse the mouse, Baby Ghost, and Mr. Frizzle. He was happy there, even though Mr. Frizzle had a terrible temper and shouted. Shouting made Frizzle feel better, so when he didn't shout at least once a day, Gus wondered what was wrong. In summer, many people came to see the spinning wheel, old cradle, grandfather clock, and other antiques. When summer was over, Mr. Frizzle put up a sign, closed until spring. One autumn, after he put up his sign, Mr. Frizzle felt restless. "I think I'll go to sunny Mexico this winter," he said. Off he went. At first, Gus liked living quietly with Cora, Mouse, and Baby Ghost, but winter was long and the snow was so deep that not even Mouse could go out. Gus began to miss Frizzle and Frizzle's shouting. Then a picture postcard came showing beautiful Mexico. Mr. Frizzle wrote, "Wish you were here." Gus studied the pretty picture and he had an idea. "Frizzle wishes we were there," he told Cora. "We'll go to Mexico and surprise him." He found Mexico on a map. He found the town where Mr. Frizzle was. He put Baby Ghost in a blanket and Cora in a basket. "What about me?" snarled the mouse, who was always unpleasant. Gus told him that he could go in the basket with Cora. Mouse made a face and said, "Then I'll stay home." Gus, Baby Ghost, and Cora took an airplane to Mexico City. They took a bus to the town where Mr. Frizzle was staying. When they arrived, the sun was warm and the sky was blue. Flowers were in bloom. "Very nice," said Gus. "Now where's Frizzle?" Cora said, "Meow," so he let her out of her basket. They walked along little streets, past pink and blue and white houses. They saw women carrying babies in rebozos. Gus bought a new rebozo for carrying Baby Ghost. He also bought a sombrero. They saw women selling tortillas, and Gus bought one for Cora's lunch. They saw women selling flowers, men selling blankets, artists painting pictures, a little donkey delivering water in great big cans. Cora saw lots of cats. They didn't see Frizzle. When it grew dark, they saw fireworks. Then they reached a park filled with boys and girls. The boys were parading one way around the park, so Gus, carrying Baby Ghost, marched along too. The girls paraded the other way, and Cora joined them. Gus kept looking for Frizzle. "We must find a place to sleep," he said. They walked down a street and knocked on a door with a brass knocker. A woman peeked out. "Good evening, Senora," said Gus. "Would you have a room to rent to a ghost?" "Certainly, Senor Yankee Ghost," the senora said. She led them through a patio filled with flowers, up a winding stair, to a room with a balcony and a fine view. In the morning, Gus said, "We'll find Frizzle today." They walked up and down the streets. They were passing two artists seated at their easels painting pictures when Gus suddenly stopped. One of the artists was speaking. "Cora!" gasped Gus. "That's Frizzle." Frizzle looked so healthy and happy that he hardly knew him. "Meow!" cried Cora joyfully and leaped on Frizzle's lap. Mr. Frizzle couldn't see Gus, as Gus was a ghost. Not dreaming Cora could be in Mexico, he thought she was some strange Mexican cat and pushed her off. "As I was saying," he told his friend, "Mexico is a fine place. I like painting pictures too. I think I'll stay here forever." Gus was thunderstruck. "He doesn't even know us," he said, "and he doesn't want to come home." What would happen if Frizzle didn't go back? A new man might not like ghosts and cats, and Gus shuddered to think what would befall Mouse. "It's best he doesn't know that we're here," he decided. "I must put some thoughts in his head at once." So, in a ghostly way, he told Frizzle, "You run a fine museum. Don't you forget that." "Someone else can run my fine museum," Frizzle told his friend. You're very proud of that museum, Gus shouted in ghostly language. I'm proud of that museum, said Frizzle, but I'm tired of working. I'm going to stay here in the sun and paint pictures. I'll have to scare the fellow out of Mexico, said Gus. When the artists folded their easels and went off, Gus followed with Baby Ghost and Cora. He found that Mr. Frizzle had a room much like theirs. Frizzle put his easel and paints and the picture he was painting in a corner and went out to dinner. Here I go, said Gus. He dropped the picture on the floor. Frizzle came back. He picked up the picture. No harm done, he said. He didn't know Gus had dropped the picture. I don't like to play tricks, but what can I do, said Gus. He moved Mr. Frizzle's easel across the room. He threw his paints on the floor and spilled the water. He scattered brushes around. That girl who cleans my room is mighty careless, Frizzle muttered. He didn't know Gus had messed things up. Still, Mr. Frizzle was determined to stay in Mexico. It's spring. Time to open the museum, said Gus. How can I get Frizzle back there? I must take drastic steps. So one night, Mr. Frizzle's bed began to shake. Frizzle woke up and rushed out of the room. Are we having an earthquake? He shouted. No, senor, said the people in the house with surprise. My bed was shaking, said Frizzle. Bad dream, senor, said the people. When Mr. Frizzle went out to paint the next day, he said to his friend, Strange things are happening. My easel moves around, my pictures fall down, and last night my bed shook. Gus could see Frizzle was worried. We're getting somewhere now, he whispered to Cora. Stranger things happened to Mr. Frizzle. His easel broke, his picture danced around the room, his brushes painted the wall, the blankets were pulled off his bed, but Frizzle wanted to stay in Mexico and paint pictures. I wish I brought my bang-clank equipment, said Gus. What can I get to make a big noise? Aha! I know! He bought some fireworks. If these don't send him home, nothing will, Gus declared. You wait on Frizzle's balcony, Cora. Then he stole into Frizzle's room and set a match to the fireworks in the middle of the floor. Whist went the fireworks, hitting the ceiling. Bang! Pop! Pop! Bang! Frizzle sprang from his bed. The fireworks scared Cora and Baby Ghost. Meow! Meow! howled Cora. Wow! Wow! screamed Baby Ghost. Frizzle almost died, he was so scared. I've got ghosts in my room. Mexican ghost, he shouted. I'm going home. He was in such a hurry that he didn't even take his easel. Goodbye, said Frizzle to the people and rushed to take a plane. Gus hurried too. He slapped his sombrero on his head. He dumped Cora in her basket, picked up Frizzle's easel and pictures, and snatched up Baby Ghost. They caught a plane before Mr. Frizzle's, and they got home first. About time, snapped Mouse, coming to the door. Gus tossed his sombrero on a table and set up the easel, which wasn't broken now, with a picture that Mr. Frizzle had painted. He and Cora ran upstairs to get settled. Mr. Frizzle arrived. The sky was blue, the breeze warm, the flowers were coming up. I believe I'm glad to be home, said Mr. Frizzle. He unlocked the door and went in. Gus and Cora peeked down from the top of the stairs, holding their breath. Mouse muttered. Mr. Frizzle stared in bewilderment at the easel he had left behind. Then on the table he saw a Mexican sombrero. Slowly the truth dawned, and Mr. Frizzle knew he had been tricked. He could think of just one way for the easel and sombrero to get there. Gus. You confounded ghosts, roared Frizzle. Then Gus and Cora hugged each other and laughed until they cried. Frizzle was home, Frizzle was shouting, and all was well again. The end.